Welcome, friends. So often I feel like all I'm doing is sharing what everybody else already knows, and I'm just putting it into a little bit more clear words. Today is definitely one of those days. So I'm going to talk about waking up at the level of the mind, the heart, and the gut. So often I hear people doing meditation and they've kind of took on a Spock-like persona. There's like a sense that whatever this infinite is that we are, that it's sterile, um, detached, uh, not really engaged. And that's not my experience. What we are is birthing everything spontaneously every moment. It if there's any kind of engine for this constant manifestation, it's an engine of joy. What else could it do but this? So it's not sterile. It's the source of love. It's the source of joy. It's the source of creativity and connection. To go to this, it's very abstract, not human. Well, okay, it's not a personality, right? Um, but why is that? Well, once we start to recognize at the level of the heart a totally new way of, I'm sorry, at the level of the head, a totally new way of looking, we may start to invest that with more than it really has. In other words, once we know that our thoughts are not the source of our understanding, our thoughts are not the source of our knowledge, there's a clarity and a simplicity that we start to experience. And as we dive into that, we discover this neutrality that feels very equanimous, very equanimous and serene. But that's not the end of the story. Waking up at that level of the head is just the beginning. It continues. So, how do we move from head to heart to gut, or any other order it might happen in? It's it's a listening and an intention. Listening to this that we are, letting it fill out, and intending to notice all of its aspects that come into form. So that's kind of like a overall where I'm going with this. So let's just look at these three. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on each one, the head, the heart, and the gut. But I'm just going to do a quick overview right now. When we wake up at the level of the head, we recognize that our knowing is not thought-based. We recognize awareness as not tied to our physical body, not tied to our physical eyes, not tied to our mental thoughts. There's just a knowing. And it's a knowing that's unclouded, very clear. And this knowing often feels very spontaneous. It can be simply knowing I am, or it can be knowing in the moment what to do, or it can be knowing about a situation. But it's a very simple, clear knowing. The next is at the level of the heart. When we wake up at the level of the heart, there's just intimacy. It's all intimate. I am that. That is me. It's not a concept. It's an experience. It's a felt, lived experience of total oneness. And as we deepen, there's preciousness. the same preciousness you might experience at the moment of birth, the moment of death. It's just this heartbreaking vitality. It's it, it's a very sensitive and interpenetrating connection. So waking up at the level of the heart kind of lays you bare open. Waking up at the level of the gut is a change in the sense of your energy source, your life source. So instead of feeling like it's the body that creates the life or that is the house of the life, that shifts. And the dynamism of this that we are becomes the root sense of what I am, becomes the root sense of our energy. The body's just a garment, and we feel, regardless of the body, there's an aliveness that is more primary, and that is what we actually are. So these three are different ways of being able to understand or experience this that we are. We're always all of this all the time. Nothing has changed in what we are. But there's an access as the things that we used to rely on drop away, and the new things that we have always had but just weren't fully accessing come into place. So meditation, it doesn't have to be any kind of a war with our thoughts or any kind of a seeking to arrive somewhere. It doesn't have to be measured. That's definitely not what this video is about, measuring where we are. However, as we relax and become more simple, more effortless, more naturally pure awareness, then we'll discover that this sense of where the I amness has always been coming from changes. The I amness actually has never been our body. The I amness has never been our persona, our personality, our relationship identity, our position in relationship to other people. Our I amness has actually never been our memories, our preferences, our understanding, our intelligence. All of that turns out to just be extra leaves, leaves at the very fringe of the tree. The trunk of the tree is this knowing, this I amness that we feel completely transcends or completely imbues much more deeply our mind, completely transcends and imbues even more deeply our heart, and completely transcends and imbues even more deeply our gut. So when we're meditating, if we're going into some kind of Spock mode, detached, logical, let's drop away the humanness, we might miss some of these possibilities because they're very connected to the humanness. Our humanness erupts from them. So there's an embracing of that which comes into manifestation without attaching to the manifestation. There's an embracing of natural knowing. And likewise, there's an embracing of the heartful intimacy, heartful I am you. There's an embracing of pure aliveness that isn't dependent on the body. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to do a video on each one, but I'm just inviting right now just to kind of start playing with these things, start noticing, how much identity is there associated with thoughts or with relating or with physical being. And then, we'll just play with what are the avenues that are actually more foundational, not tied to time and space and physicality, something very root and something very boundless, something without an edge, without an identity, without any compliance and conditioning, something very spontaneous. So I look forward to delving into these three a little more deeply.